Let me tell you about the great eggnog saga. It started when I was crafting an exquisite Christmas food PowerPoint for my grade 1 students. Essentially, I would show them two options, like Nanaimo bars or maple cookies, and after explaining what the foods are, I would ask them which they would prefer. While the presentation was under construction, I asked my JTE if she had ever heard of eggnog before, and as well traveled as she is, she said she never had the pleasure. Mwahaha! So, doing my duty as an upstanding citizen of Maple Leaf Land, I found a simple eggnog recipe online and Google translated the hell out of it. I rearranged it all nice and created a Japanese eggnog recipe. This whole process probably took about 2 hours. After the recipe was complete, it was time for class. I could finally spread my Western propaganda. The eggnog slide came up along with my pressing question: which is better, sparkling apple juice or eggnog? The students asked what eggnog was. I explained it tasted kind of like custard, but you drink it like thick milk. That it was very sweet and spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. Unbeknownst to me, apparently Japanese people find cinnamon distasteful, and as a result, the entire class said they would prefer drinking apple juice. My heart sank, my hopes and dreams dashed. The wind in the sails of my national pride blew out. I collapsed to the floor of the classroom and shriveled up into a husk. With all hope lost, I weakly offered up the eggnog recipe packets I had crafted so lovingly. To my surprise, one hand raised, then another. Soon the whole class had their hands in the air, asking, no, beseeching my glorious eggnog scrolls. With devilish joy, I distributed the recipes and the class reveled in Google's broken Japanese. I have a feeling eggnog isn't going to take Japan by storm, but perhaps somewhere on the remote island of Shikoku, in the small town of Kuroshio, a few junior high school students will make some, taste it, and then promptly pour it down the sink. The food adventures can't stop, won't stop. Freshly hungover from a work party the night before, 3 of the Kuroshio ALTs jumped into my friend's brand new pink car and took her on a maiden voyage to Wakana for the annual beef festival. Thankfully, our adventure began on a relatively flat highway, because let me tell you, I was feeling every bump in the road go straight to my stomach, and barfing in my friend's new wheels would have meant walking home. The drive through Motoyama and then along the road to Akana is incredibly beautiful, with great emerald Japanese mountains, sparkling sapphire lakes, and sprawling valleys and bridges. The road is a little tight driving at certain parts and around a few corners, but that's about par for the course in the Japanese countryside. Arriving at the festival, hundreds of canvas tents and fires had been erected, and crowds of people were gathered around, barbecuing up a storm. We were greeted by our ALT friend who works in the village and were distributed 2 healthy-sized packages of Wagyu beef and chicken, as well as some vegetables and barbecue sauce. We got situated with the other ALTs and cooked our meats. It was challenging. The seating was packed and the barbecuing space was at a similar juncture. The benches around the grill were low and thin, designed for the slim Japanese physique, not the gargantuan Canadian Sasquatch. Despite sitting on a balancing board, I managed to treat myself to some delicious chicken and beef, and I enjoyed chatting with the other ALTs, doing my best not to get salmonella. I'd say for the food alone, the 6-hour round trip wasn't worth it, but for the gorgeous views and the friends I made along the way, I get a pass. Maybe I'll go again next year, but I'll be wise enough not to be hungover next time. Probably. One day there was no classes at my school, but unfortunately I still had to go to work. I joined a few ALTs at the Kuroshio Support Center and hung out with a couple Japanese junior high students, also thrilled to be freed from school but also forced to mill about. We started with some obligatory English introduction and conversation practice, and when the students grew bored of that, we were handed garbage bags, a direction, and instructed to pick up garbage along the forest paths. Although Japanese cities and towns are relatively clean and litter-free, there is still plenty of garbage if you go looking for it. During the garbage picking, I just about stepped face first into a couple gargantuan spiders, each roughly the size of a small plate. These types of spiders are so common in the woods, and they like to string up massive webs along hiking trails and animal paths. Yabai. After collecting a respectable amount of trash, we drove down with the students to the pier. They rode on bikes and we followed in a car, ominously behind them. It was a beautiful afternoon. The sky was clear, the ocean was calm and sparkling as it does. When we stopped and walked to the sea, the boys managed to spot an octopus closer to some rocks along the pier. And with some maneuvering and patience, as well as a pair of freshly soaked shoes, they were able to catch it. The boy who caught it did so with his bare hands, and the suction cups pinched his skin. He had a few small welts for his efforts. It was a smaller octopus, and we dubbed it Taco-chan. Fresh off their kraken catch, the boys collected a couple oysters and then set about the process of fishing. They only had a single fishing rod between the three of them, so one boy set bait and waited, while the other two cracked jokes and enjoyed the view. After about an hour, it was time for us ALTs to head back. It's funny how an otherwise sleepy afternoon can transform into a brief, yet enjoyable fishing adventure. Another spur-of-the-moment day, a few friends and I attended a Japanese language class where we would be saying goodbye and sayonara to one of the class members. It was a nice lesson and a heartfelt ceremony for the woman who would be returning to Vietnam. My supervisor was in attendance and innocently asked if we would like to attend a Green Lemon Festival. Apparently, he and one of our ALTs would be selling some baked goods. Wanting to be good Samaritans, we agreed, but were first tricked into going for dinner. After dinner, however, there was an actual bakery at an elementary school. Students had prepared several different dishes, with the highlighted ingredient, of course, being green lemon. There were green lemon cheesecakes, fruitcakes, lemonade, and even green lemon rice. My LT friend had spent several hours painstakingly baking lemon cookies in an undersized toaster oven and bagging them in cute cookie bags. The festival started with students giving a short explanation of the amazing and wonderful properties of the green lemon, not to be confused with the lime. Basically summarized, it's a regular lemon but green. After a quick tour around the various stands and their goods, the purchasing and devouring of green lemon confectionery could begin. My favorite was the hot lemonade and the cookies, of course, but the cheesecake was a close runner-up. Students got to practice the role of shopkeeper in real time and speak and make change for their customers. Also in English, because I and several other ALTs were there. It was fun, although those 8 hours baking cookies destroyed my ALT friend's soul. That's all for now. Take care and be bold.